We're working on our AV issues. I didn't know we needed AV issues, but here we are. I guess so. So, this is the CGC panel. We're also going to talk about slabbing our books. Or we can talk about Mark Waid. What do you want to do?
Slabbing.
All right, so Mark is our guest of honor, which is really appropriate considering all the years he's spent in the field, all the years he's become to Baltimore Comic-Con, the fact that he paid me to say this. And, it's a real opportunity to get a bunch of people who've been part of Mark's career in life to, you know, mock him a little, talk about him a little, talk to him a little, see what's on your minds. On my left is, what?
He's not
On your street right over there.
I know, but I'll start with Christina.
Right.
So, Christina, tell us a little bit about yourself and your connection with the gentleman to my right.
That's me.
Very. Dean. My name is Christina Blanch, and I met Mark 5 or so years ago at a convention, and then he followed me around, bought the house across the street from me, stalked me. Just kidding. I'll pay for that.
That's how it happened.
Anyway, we're dating.
What?
Sorry, ladies, I'm off the market.
There's a collective sigh of relief.
After I look over at that hat, I'm thinking maybe, you know, we can talk. Yeah, so no, I've known him for 5 years and haven't regretted one moment.
That's not true.
Hey, to my immediate left, one of his collaborators.
Yeah, my name is Dean Haspiel, and for the purpose of this panel, I drew the fox. That's all I've ever done, as co-written with Mark. And I'm trying to remember how we first met.
I was about to ask you about that as a collective.
I do remember that I had drawn a series with Evan Dorkin called Thing Night Falls on Yancey Street, and while I was working for that editor in, I want to say, 2001 or 2 or something like that, I had come up with a pitch for Thor.
That was a great pitch.
And there you go. I got wind that Mark somehow saw it and said, that's a great pitch. I'm like, wait a second, Mark Waid, the great writer, like something that it was like a page. And he said that he would love to have maybe written, script that or work on that, and it just made my year. And I'll never forget that because it was really encouraging. And then I'm a big fan of his writing. And at some point we did meet, I don't know how, and I've never felt like I didn't know Mark Waid, and I've always loved his writing. So if you're looking for, Rotten Tomatoes, it ain't coming from me,
I guess that's why
I said Q Berry.
And on my extreme right,
I'm Barry Kitson, and for whatever sins I committed in a previous life, I've worked with Mark for pretty much 20 odd years.
Something like that. Very odd, yes.
Yeah. We're pretty much the odd couple, but
pretty much.
I'm the nice one that everybody likes.
I think we've probably done more comics together than with each. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. My most asked question at convention is, why do you keep working with Mark Waid?
I thought it was going to sign this. All right, so
So you don't want to know how Mark and I met? It's not good enough for you?
No, he wants over here.
No, you don't.
You don't want to know?
I'm going to get to it, but go ahead.
No, you never go.
No, please.
It's all about Mark.
I want to get to the left side. Well, please, tell us your story.
To be fair, it really is all about me.
I've changed there then. Move along.
On my extreme left.
So how we met was... It's okay, don't worry about me, I'm enjoying this.
So on my extreme left in the orange hat.
I introduced myself.
Would you be so kind, Mr. Dezago?
I've been so worried about my tech stuff, so everything's falling apart for me. My name is Todd Dezago. I've known Mark for way too long, as many of you have. I had a whole thing all planned. We were going to have fun. I can't show you any pictures now because it didn't work out.
No.
So pretend I'm not here.
I know.
This is the amazing J.G. Jones. He is far better at speaking than I, the writer, so.
No, I can't follow that.
Give it a try.
I'm probably the neophyte working with Mark Waid, so I can tell you all the dirty little details. Mark, I've known you, what, 20
At least.
something years,
Yeah.
and we've never done a book together. So I actually begged him to come work on Strange Fruit with me at Boom, and it's just been a delight.
Didn't have to beg very hard, but that's, so two white boys doing a book about a black guy in Mississippi. That's gone over well. Yeah.
I wanted to start, before you even had met Mark, can you guys recall the first time you became aware of him as a writer, either as for the fanzines or for comics?
I don't think Mark even was a writer before I met him.
You're taking credit for him, is that it?
Well, Mark and I met when I was actually writing LIGON as a book.
Yeah.
And I found as an artist, the editors pretty much left me alone when I get on it, but they all thought they could write, so when I was writing it, they kept bringing me up and pestering me. So Mark was actually my dialoguer originally.
That's true.
I was writing the stories, Mark came in as dialoguer, basically to speak to the editors, so I didn't have to.
Pretty much, yes.
And that was how we became friends. And, well, we did become
You said you were
friends.
friends.
That was
Eventually,
before we
yes.
fell out. We
How
don't.
about you guys?
Well, there's 2 points of entry for me. One is I had heard of Mark Waid, read a lot of Mark Waid, but it wasn't honestly until Fantastic Four that it like clinched it for me, because I felt like you know, it's really hard. My favorite run is the Stan Lee Jack Kirby run, which is the canon, right? And suddenly he's talking over me while I'm preaching like that. That's pure narcissism. He'll see it later on YouTube. No, but honestly, he wrote, like, he was able to match what I felt like Lee and Kirby had done with Michael Ringo on Fantastic Four. But the thing that made me relate to Mark Waid was often I would hear about him getting mad at something and throwing like a book against the wall. Like, he honestly had said that several times. I was like, that's my kind of guy. Like, I know that guy, that's me.
This is probably Flash. He wrote Flash for 8 years. Sorry.
That funny or wrong?
That is funny.
One of our good friends, Kyle over here, we were watching the Flash pilot together, and everyone loved it, as everyone should watch that show. And then very seriously, he said, "Mark, have you ever written the Flash?" And the entire room got silent because we thought, is he joking? And Mark just went,
In Kyle's defense, Kyle was like 7 years old at the time. Back when I was writing Flash.
He's
so.
trying to kill me for telling the story. But
We're told so many times how it doesn't really matter.
Mark was like, well, just for 8 years. So, yeah, sorry, Kyle. Now he Googles everything before he asks.
You guys remember the first time you encountered Mark as an entity before he was a person? As an entity. I mean, in my case, I was doing comic scene at Starlog, and then I moved over to DC as an assistant editor, and along the way, Mark was doing work at Amazing Heroes, and then a very short-lived Comics Weekly publication.
Yep.
And we had hit it off, and he would then call me to talk about what was going on in DC. But it got to the point where he called so often and at such odd times, my wife named him Pesky. And then he joined DC, and we shared an office for a while together, which was a really fun time.
Yeah.
So, you know, I got to know him as a journalist first, and then as a office mate, which was a lot of fun. He didn't throw books when we were in the room together. No, he kept his anger until he moved around the corner.
Exactly.
Yes. And I should probably add a little caveat at this point that if you know anything about English people, if we're being polite to each other, we really don't like each other.
Oh, that's right.
The more we insult each other, any of you who were at the Dave Gibbons panel last year will the more we like each other, the more we insult each other. So I probably won't say anything nice about Mark. during this thing.
Just to translate,
But every
English
nasty thing I say is true.
English people are like Dezago.
So my first physical encounter with Mark was when he'd become the dialoguer on LEGIO and a book I had been working on for 2 years, writing and drawing it.
I know where this story's going.
Yep. We're at a meeting to do a crossover between 3 or 4 books.
Yeah.
And within 5 minutes, Mark was going, "That's not happening in my book."
That's true.
I was thinking, it's his book already.
That's not quite what I meant, but yes.
So, Mark has made his mark at sorry, but you know he started as an assistant editor, and he really at DC made his presence felt in the types of stuff he did. You know, notably things like the Legion, and then also in Secret Origins, where he got a chance to show us where his taste ran and his interest, and he did some really goofy stuff. Could you tell when Mark was editing the book? Was there something you guys noticed about when he brought to a title? Anything at all?
I'm not that old.
Yeah. He would give you the origins, or from all sorts of obscure, fun characters right up to Cap's Hobby's heads.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So,
I would argue that what Mark does, and if you had to boil down to one word, is authenticity.
Okay.
Like he respects the source material. He might add new wrinkles or do a twist on it, but it's always done with love and homage versus, oh, I know how to tear it apart and make it mine.
Yeah.
He still makes it his by keeping it yours, if that makes sense.
like anybody can do that. That's the easiest thing in the world. My joke about Archie comics was that anyone could write page 1, panel 1, Jughead has a heroin needle sticking out of his arm. And yeah, we'd get headlines, and yes, hipsters would go, oh, that's edgy and cool, I want to read that. But that's stupid. That's not, any moron can write that. You know, you've got to dig down, figure out what the characters are, what you love about the characters, and then just show people why I love them. That's the job. It's like I just am more of a conduit. I liken it to being a geologist, or a gem maker. You just go in and polish up the stuff, and
I would even say custodian. I know that word's kind of weird, but he's a great custodian of these characters we love.
I have never met anybody who loves these characters more than Mark does.
Nope, that's true.
He loves them and he respects them, and I know, and as a reader and as a retailer, I know, and there might be a little bias, but if a Mark Waid book comes out, I know it's going to be good, and it's going to be respectful, and I know that I can sell that book, and I know I'm going to read that book. In fact, I would let him talk to me about Daredevil, because I loved the Daredevil book so much. That was like, I couldn't wait for that book to come in. I didn't want any surprise.
Mark wrote Daredevil?
Kyle?
Wait. In fact, that's interesting you say that, Christy, because I've heard Mark say that he didn't even know what was going to happen in the next issue because he kept it at a cliffhanger moment.
That's true.
That you wouldn't, you'd have to write yourself out of.
That literally
to keep it interesting.
That is still how I write cliffhangers. I've been doing it my entire career. Is that when I put them in a horrible situation on page 20 and you don't know what's happening, I don't know either. Because that's part of the fun of it. For the first 10 years I did it, I thought, I'm screwing this up, I'm doing it wrong, what's wrong with me? And after about 15 years, I thought, you know what, this apparently is my method. So I figured if I don't know, you can't guess, and we'll both be surprised.
Yeah.
There was one time when you wrote yourself into a corner, and it was a tough couple weeks because you couldn't figure it out. And he was the grumpiest.
I was,
I'm not talking about throwing books. But he was like, I've done it. There's no way I can get out of this. I don't know. And it was a tough 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh yeah, I got it.
What's the comic? Come on.
It was a Daredevil.
Actually, it was a Daredevil. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was early on in the second run. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Yeah, and he
But it
was
really
falling
hard.
off a cliff or something.
And was the answer that it was all a dream?
Yeah.
All right, so JJ, since you're the most recent collaborator and you've been waiting for this opportunity, what is it about Mark's stuff that's made you want to work with him?
It's really humiliating in a way being up here on that. Not humiliating, but embarrassing. That's the word I'm looking for, being up here on the panel, like I'm dead. But in advance, thank you for all the kind things you're saying. Now, go on.
You being dead was how my whole presentation was going to go. None of it's working. And it's my fault. It's not these guys' fault. I am technologically impaired. So
We'll gather
I
around.
apologize. But it was a whole thing about how great you were and how we're going to miss you. All the stuff you did, the times we did crazy things together. We've had personal moments. I'm not like that. We met.
Tell me more.
We met. Mark and I met 20 years ago.
Yes.
At a Marvel conference when they were trying to get the Heroes Reborn to come back together. And they got all us writers together and said, we screwed up, how do we fix this? And Mark and I had met briefly once before that, but Mark was then writing, I tell this story every time. He was writing the X-Men while Scott Lobdell, who was a longtime friend of mine, was writing Uncanny X-Men, and of course, driving everyone out of their minds, because he is obnoxious. I can say it, I tell it to his face. But at Marvel, the room was full of writers, and a few artists were there, and they had given us those guns in the 70s, in the 90s, that were the Star Trek, you put batteries in them, and they shot the foam discs.
Right.
And everybody's running around shooting. It was one of those things they give you to try to relax during a really tense brainstorming session. It was a big room, just like this. And Scott was running around stealing everybody's little discs because he wanted to have everything on him. And I turned to Mark and I said, you know, if we put a silver dollar in this, it would go through his brain like a... And Mark grabbed me and he said, you are my best friend. And it has been that way ever since then. We've had some crazy times, we've done some goofy things.
Well, you collaborated with him on Kazar, right?
We did do a Kazar story. That's
So what was it like
right.
collaborating with him, writer to writer?
I think, have you collaborated with him before?
Just in the office.
Because it was, on that one, well, I'll throw you under the bus on this one, because you did say, hey, do you want to co-write this with me? And I said, yeah, sure, that sounds great. Good, here's the story. Kazar meets his brother. See you later.
I'm out. See,
Stan Lee style.
in his defense, Mark was writing like 5 books for Marvel and maybe one sneakily still for DC.
Yeah.
And
how has that changed?
And he was going to be taking over Kazar. They were doing that big flashback project, and they said to Mark, "You've got to write the Kazar." And he was like, "I have no interest." Or he said, "Here you go, let's go." So yeah, we did that. That was fine. That was not great. And it was John Cassaday's first work ever, and he wouldn't allow to talk to me now at all. Wow. Yeah. Just the way he is. He must have hated that story.
So, JG, can you elaborate on the answer you never quite gave us before?
I'm sorry. No.
No. What about Mark's stuff? Has made you want to work with him?
Mark was one. I didn't read comics. I know this is heresy, but I didn't read comics for years. I dropped out of the scene and just got back into it when I was well into my late 20s, 30s. And
Just a few now, you're like 14.
Mark was one of the first guys whose stuff I read regularly. And I've been really lucky in this business where after I got over that initial hump of working for like Crusade and some other companies, I finally got some decent gigs, and I've been able to choose the people I want to work with for about the last 15 years. And Mark has been on my get list forever because I just love his writing. And I brought him a little project and begged him to jump in with me.
Don't beg it.
So, is it true your right side blackface?
Yay, everybody.
So very
quick, insult Mark, quick.
No. We're similar to what Todd was talking about, working with Mark, writer to writer. You've been writing the Legion book and then collaborating with him on the Legion book, and then subsequently you've done your own writing. Are there things you learned from him as a writer?
No.
No.
I told him everything he knows.
Exactly, yes.
No, I mean, in all seriousness, and I've said this to Mark, actually to him, which is ridiculous, because I almost never say anything nice to anyone.
That's true.
You know, I've been thinking about retiring if I wasn't still working with Mark.
Oh.
It's more fun working with Mark than anyone else I've ever worked with.
Oh, that's nice.
You know, I've said that to you.
I know, but I'm still saying it. I can't say, yeah, you're right.
But, you know, we collaborate more than, you know, I don't think anybody collaborates quite as much as we do when we work together.
No.
It's complete back and forth.
It is
all the
complete
time.
back and forth all the time, exactly. As it should be. It's
Now, do you want to counter that? Is it complete back and forth with?
Oh, no, it totally is. I think these two talk more than Mark and I talk. So, but I'm not jealous.
No. If it's any consolation, he does tell me he loves you more.
that's true.
And that's why I was thinking of retirement.
That would be okay if you like.
I mean, the other great thing about Mark is everything is genuinely about the story, to make the story as good as it can be. And, you know, we've worked on stories where, you know, Mark's rung me and said, I know what we've got to do. We've got to kill this character. And I said, but we really like her. Yeah, but she has to die for the story.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes it special because you know it's about the story. It's not, for Mark, and hopefully for me, you know, it's not about showing off readers, it's about making good comics. And that's, you know that's the most important thing.
That's what it's all about. And again, and my feeling is very strongly that when I write something, it's not my story the moment I hand it over to an artist, the moment we start collaborating on something. It's not it's our story. You know, it's not, I'm not a precious little orchid hothouse flower that has to see everything that he puts on paper be exactly the way that I saw it in my head. It's a collaboration. So, and you get much better work out of it. I get much better work because I'm working with Barry. I get much better work because I'm working with these guys. I get, you know, much better work with everybody I work with because I'm lucky, like JG, I'm lucky enough to be able to, at this point, kind of pick the guys I want to work with. And I'm smart enough to hire people who are better than I am. So,
but then this is another true thing about Mark, which again proves that it's about the story and it's about the comic. It's quite often we've discussed scenes and we've discussed dialogue, and usually I send Mark the finished art before he dialogues it. And quite often, you know, when I see it, the dialogue's all gone. You know, a lot of writers will put the dialogue in because, you know, they've got these great phrases and things they want to say. But Mark will just say, no, you did it with the picture, we don't need the dialogue. You know, that's a big compliment you can get from a writer.
also,
Anyway.
much easier on me.
Yeah, this is another story I do have to tell you.
Okay.
My favourite plot I ever got from Mark.
Yeah.
You remember the one?
No.
It says, pages 5 to 17.
Yes.
They fight.
Yep.
Another X number of $1,000 for me.
It was a good day. Went to the movies at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Now, Dean, The Fox is a different type of book for you.
Yes.
And tonality, it's a different sort of book for you. So what is it you're both bringing to this project, and how are you working on it together?
Well, I'm mostly known for drawing comics. In fact, I'm mostly known for drawing memoir-type comics, like working with Harvey Picard, Jonathan Ames, and Bernard Lopez. I've done my own. But I've always loved superhero comics. I've always wanted to do superhero comics, but I just never was good enough for prime time, or at least according to the editors, I think. And so I had this opportunity to write a 6-page, draw a 6-page Fox story that was going to be a backup. And when I did, I handed it in. The editor at the time at Archie/Red Circle, now Dark Circle, said, "Oh, that's really great. What about a 5-issue miniseries?" And I was like, "What?" And I've always liked the Fox, and I was a big fan of the 2 stories that Alex Toth did, and I knew the first rule was to never do anything like he did because there's no way I could compete with that. So I kind of had this other story idea that I brushed off and kind of retooled it, and I pitched it, and it flew. And I've been talking to Mark for many, many years about wanting to collaborate. I've been writing emails. Half the time I'd read a Daredevil or Fantastic Four or anything we've been writing, and I'd get emails saying how much I liked it, and he wrote me back, and we just had this nice parlay.
He writes you back?
He writes me back. That's right. And I thought, like, on the one hand, maybe this is a way we could collaborate. Like, if I wrote this plot and he read it and sanctioned it and thought it was good enough and then could add the dialogue to it, that would be a great way to work. And does everyone know the old Marvel method is in that way, where the artist basically kind of concocts a story, or at least, you know, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko would go home and, you know, maybe with a loose idea, draw 20 pages with notes and the panels and stuff like that, and then Stanley would dialogue it, and there'd be some great collaboration. So it was kind of done in the spirit of that. The thing is, though, I would like write out this plot, talk to Mark a little bit about it, talk to the editor, it would get approved, I'd go draw it, send him the artwork with the plot, with maybe some ideas for some dialogue, or at least to show the intent of the character. And then, like, shortly thereafter, we get this dialogue that was like a master class in writing. It was amazing just to read that and to go, wait a second, I'm working with this guy, one of my heroes. And it really was, I don't know how you felt working that way. I don't know if you've worked in that style before. I assume you have. You know.
It's pretty much how we work.
That's how you guys?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But more so with you, and this has been a fun experiment and actually shows how in sync we are, is that, especially with the last 2 or 3 plots, I didn't even read them. I would just I'd get your artwork and I'd have a plot.
Right.
And I would think, you know what?
You don't need it.
Let me see, and I would do the whole dialogue.
Right.
Then I would go back and look at the plot and go, oh, yeah, this is exactly what you intended. I sort of did it as a fun exercise on my end, but again, that it reflected the story you wanted to tell. And so we're very much in sync that way.
We were in sync in that way, and we both wanted to honor a certain kind of comic book that's not really being told as much these days. And I felt like he was also the glue. Mark was the glue. If I was veering off in a direction that was a little wonky, which I tend to do, he would somehow make it work in the dialogue. So we had this nice tension, I guess, between visual and text. I would love to one day actually draw a Mark Waid script, if anybody understands what I mean by that word. He just concocted it. He thought about what, you know, my virtues were and wrote an actual story for me to draw. I'd love to get some
Moose. We'll do Moose. We'll do Moose at Archie.
Oh, we were thinking about doing Moose at Archie.
I'll figure out. They'll do it. Come on.
I would love to do that.
Do a Moose story.
Okay, thank you.
Todd, so I'll just say this: this whole thing has kind of turned into about the craft and how to work with Mark Waid, and I really thought this was going to be more of a roast. I have been asked to do a roast of Mark Waid. Actually, 15 years ago, we did one out in Ohio, and they wanted to get him, and I brought a puppet.
Was it a Mark Waid?
It was a Mark Waid puppet. And everybody seemed to like that, and I didn't want to do that again. But I thought there would be a...
Oh, I thought the puppet was on your other hand. I was disappointed.
No, the puppet actually, in respect for you, I burned the puppet. You kept rolling your eyes. You said it looked like Bunsen Honeydew. I'm sorry.
As I recall, you took an orange Nerf ball and cut it in half.
And I put glasses on.
Yeah, exactly.
But he wore a cool coat. I bought a cool, like, Cabbage Patch doll coat. It looked good, but you didn't like it, so I got rid of it because I love you that much.
So Todd, are you saying you had some prepared remarks you'd like to share?
I had lots of prepared stuff, and I had video, and I'm a little heartbroken because my friend Rich Woodall did some beautiful Photoshop stuff that was going to be exactly that. I thought there'd be a podium, a chance for me to kind of poke fun at Mark, but I don't like roasts. I don't like watching him on TV. I don't like people to... I know a lot of dirt on him, but I'm not sure how to do it, guys. I'm saving it for when I need money. So I instead of doing that, I once again tried to come up with a creative way to be able to play with him. So my friend Rich Woodall helped me do some very fun Photoshop effects that sadly we can't see. But I did have some stuff prepared, and I'd like to read it if I could.
Please.
I hope that you'll all bear with me, and maybe I can describe what the pictures would be, and that'll be a lot of fun. No, I have a good voice. So it did start out with, and if anybody has any questions during this, save them for later. Friends, we have come here to bury Mark Waid, not to praise him. I already blew that before. What can I say about Mark Waid that hasn't already been so eloquently voiced by this incredibly distinguished, incredibly talented panel and Barry? And here we are celebrating 50 years in...
Good luck, wait.
30 years in comics. 30 years! A writer has entertained us with some of the greatest comic stories of the past 10 years. Could we call him the greatest comic book writer of all time? No. No, we couldn't. Could we call him the greatest living comic book writer? Again, no. Because Stan's still alive. But soon.